So it was announced last Friday, as no doubt you all saw, that in collaboration with the governor and his senior advisors, the 5 California clubs were able to put together a set of guidelines that the governor announced that will allow us in the red tier to begin to have 20% capacity in our ballparks. This was a collaborative effort between the 5 California clubs. I like to say that there's always a lot more cooperation on the business side than there is the baseball side between the clubs in California. But we were able to work effectively over a lot of conversations, frankly, behind the scenes, where we found the governor and his senior staff to be incredibly collaborative and thoughtful about how this could be, become a reality by opening day, but also be done in a way that continues to be safe and protective of Californians. So that was exciting. We announced that. My understanding, I'm not the one that decides these things, but my understanding is that midday today, it'll be announced that San Diego has officially moved into the red tier, which is great news as our case counts continue to go down. And that will, in effect, put us in a position without any doubt to host fans at 20% capacity on opening day. So that is a very good thing. We're extremely excited. We've been working for a long time to prepare for this day, and I think it'll be the loudest 20% capacity crowd you've ever heard in Petco Park history on opening day. Safety continues to be our primary priority as an organization. Safety of our employees, safety of all of our guests and fans that we have in Petco Park, and safety of our players. I'm confident that when we reopen Petco Park on opening day, it will be one of the safest places to be in San Diego. As I mentioned, we put a lot of time and effort into preparing for this. Because of how dynamic capacity is going to be this year, even the rubric that was released last Friday from the governor outlines 3 potential different attendance thresholds, depending upon which tier we're in. And then even within the orange tier, there's the potential to even go higher in the event that people have been vaccinated or tested, proof of vaccination. We don't have specific guidelines on that yet, so I just can't speak to the specifics. All we got was what you received last Friday publicly. But the bottom line is, whether it's under that rubric or eventually if conditions continue to improve and we reach a rate of vaccinations in the San Diego region and California as a whole, where the governor feels comfortable, I would anticipate we might even be at full capacity at some point this season. I think that's a very distinct possibility. I can't tell you when we're going to increase capacity from 20%. I also can't tell you exactly what percentages we'll hit as we go, because there's still things that we need to learn that are detailed in nature. But the bottom line is, we've anticipated that this was going to be a very dynamic season. We may start with no fans. We may start with reduced capacity of 25%. That will likely and hopefully increase, and maybe even towards the back half of the season get to something that's closer to full capacity, including for the postseason. So we made the decision that it was in the best interest of our ticket members to provide them with a maximum amount of flexibility, including the ability to opt in or opt out for the initial segment of the season, with the understanding that we're still at a point where some of our season ticket members may not feel comfortable returning to a mass gathering, even though it'll be safe and socially distanced. So we designed basically a 3-tier season or segment season, each 2 months in length. So the first segment would be the months of April and May, June, July, and then August and September. And then hopefully there's a 4th segment, and that's the playoffs. So what we're doing is, we're not going to be selling any tickets outside of our members, and we may not even be selling any tickets, and I'll talk about that in a moment, to anybody in the general public. But we won't be doing that in any event, even if we have them available for anything more than the first 2 months of the season. So we're taking it 2 months by 2 months. We reserve the right to change that as we go too, because we're off the map. But what we've gone out with is, 3 weeks ago, we sent a survey. This was reported publicly. We sent a survey to our members. It went out to over 7,000 members, and we had about 4,400 responses, which is a really high response rate for a survey, and I think is indicative of the passion that our fan base feels right now towards this team. And based on the response from that survey, it was our determination that our opt-in rate of season ticket members would probably be around 70% based on the way they responded. So we anticipated that 30% of our season ticket members would opt out and say, for whatever reason, I'm not interested in attending the first 2 months. I'll take the credit. I'll apply it to later in the season, or I'll take a refund and I'll deal with you on that. We went out with a follow-up communication yesterday to our members. And this was not a survey. This was, here's what we're going to do. You need to let us know by this Friday whether you're going to opt out. As of this morning, we are seeing a much higher opt-in rate than 70%. I think that's probably the result of improving conditions over the last several weeks with the pandemic, increasing vaccinations, and increasing excitement regarding the team and the season. And in light of the fact that now we're dealing with an announcement that was made last Friday, where now it's real. People know we'll be at 20% capacity. So I can't tell you yet whether we're going to have any single game tickets available. It's looking likely that for the first 2 months of the season, we will not. We've always said that our members, by virtue of being a season ticket member, will get priority access. Priority access to what? Everything that's available. That's it. That's it, guys. I can't tell you yet. I don't know. But what we have available, only members will get access to it initially. And the only way we would even have a single game on sale for the first 2 months is if there's enough tickets to satisfy each of our membership plans in the order of full season, half season, partial season, seating location, 10-year, how long they've been a member. And I don't know the answer yet, but it's looking likely that we will only have enough tickets available for our members, and maybe not even all of our members for the first 2 months. So there's still a great benefit to membership. We've always been transparent, as we've even been selling new memberships, that we can't guarantee anything other than priority access because we just don't know what's going to be available yet. We don't know how many people are opting in or opting out. And we don't know, obviously, when we're going to have capacity at different levels. But anybody who walks in today or calls over the phone or sends an email will be given the option to place a deposit, and that'll continue to get them priority access, but it may only be priority access for segment 2 and segment 3 because there's nothing available for them in segment 1. It'll for sure be priority access if we're at full capacity or increased capacity, including the postseason and including getting in line for 2022 with preferential seating location. So I know that's a lot that I just threw at you, and I know as great journalists, you've already thought of at least a dozen questions that you wanted to ask me when I was just talking. So that's all I had prepared. I just wanted to make sure you knew the background information, because I think that hopefully will answer some threshold questions, and then I'll turn it back to Craig to moderate questions. Well, we're going to use every inch of the ballpark to seat people, I can tell you that. When you create pods of no more than 6, and they're all at least 6 feet apart, because that's the social distancing rule, there's not going to be an inch of Petco Park that isn't going to have a pod of seating somewhere in it. So the entire ballpark will be utilized, including Gallagher Square. We're going to have white squares painted in the grass there. And those will be the pods. We'll also take some areas that traditionally would have been standing room only, which is not allowed. And we'll actually create fixed seating locations there using chairs and high top tables that will be assigned to specific people. And we'll be socially distanced, and we'll be in pods of no more than 6. And all of those areas are also all open air. So, the safest possible format you could have. We will have concessions. The state guidelines require us to operate mostly remote with concessions, so remote ordering, contactless payment. We will have an option to have food and beverage delivered directly to your seat. We'll also have probably some pickup locations immediately behind different seating sections where it's easier for people to just one person from the group to go up and get the food and bring it back down. They can do that as well. And then we would hope that as we get to larger capacity, some of those rules also relax and we can get back to a more traditional food and beverage experience. We will, out of necessity, have to pare down the amount of food offerings just to make sure that we can execute on it at a high level with our concessionaire. But as I mentioned earlier, the one thing we will not compromise is the safety of our guests. And so everything that we've done has been designed to make food preparation, ordering, payment, remote, contactless as safe as possible. We will continue to test make testing available for all of our game day employees. And also we've got enhanced safety and sanitation protocols. And one thing you'll see a lot of are hand sanitizer stations. We have hundreds of them throughout the ballpark.
Eric, you guys had a record week of season ticket sales following the signing of Tatis. What kind of update can you give us on how that's been going?
It stayed really strong. We continue to see really high level of demand for access to watch this team play. So we're encouraged by that. We have a proprietary sort of fan sentiment index model that we build and have internally that picks up Google searches, other browser searches related to the Padres, sales of Padres merchandise at the MLB.com shop, ticket purchases, all manner of touch points we have with the public. And we received a report yesterday from our head of business strategy and analytics who built that model. And, we're trending up to levels that we've not seen, ever, or certainly not in a very long time. So there's a lot of positive sentiment with the fan base right now.
Eric, I imagine there's not anything you can do about it. Is there anything, though, that the team can do about gouging on the secondary market?
Yeah, it's a good question. We do have a broker policy where our season ticket members are only allowed to sell up to half their seats. But that's always been a key point of flexibility and benefit to our season ticket members, that especially if you're a full season holder, there's times where you're not going to be able to go to the game. And so we will still allow, subject to the guidelines, our fans to resell tickets. Our hope, they're going to be really well positioned to benefit from some of the scarcity principle that we're seeing in the first part of the season. Our hope is that this fan base and our season ticket member base is going to want to be at the game themselves, cheering for the team.
And my last thing is, in terms of season ticket holders or whoever having to compete with bots, which I think was something in spring training that maybe was an issue. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that question. That's not going to be an issue with our members. So the city of Peoria runs the complex there for both the Mariners and us. It's their ticketing system. It's their ticket sales process. It's a different ticket platform. At TDC, we're on Ticketmaster. We don't control that process. Because of the scarcity there, you had 20% and 20% off of a much lower denominator because those are smaller capacity venues. The reality is there was not a meaningful pre-sale opportunity for our members down there. And my understanding is that process was managed by the city of Peoria in a way where, our members, really didn't have a meaningful opportunity to get tickets. We'll learn from that going forward. I'm not passing everything off to the city of Peoria. They're our partner. We've got to work with them in the future. Hopefully we're not at reduced capacity next year in spring training. But it's a completely different process here in San Diego. It's the Padres ticketing platform. There will be no pitting of members against public on sales assuming that the members take advantage of their exclusive presale. And that exclusive presale will be, it's already been communicated, it'll be reiterated, it'll be a sufficiently long enough period of time that when we get to the point where our members have an opportunity to get tickets before the general public, it's going to be meaningful, and it's going to be only available to them. They're not going to be competing with bots. They're not going to be competing with anybody in the general public. The only competition would be them and their other fellow season ticket members.
Hi, Erik. As far as the game day experience goes, are you guys taking temperatures at the point of entrance, and how early can fans access the ballpark?
Yeah, I'll have Craig follow up with gate times, just because we've not communicated that publicly yet, but we will. We have modified gate times slightly because of the regulatory overlay of the state guidelines. We will, and I'm sorry, your first question before the gate times was what, Marty?
Taking temperatures at the point of entrance.
Yeah. So
okay.
So we do have certain health screenings, definitely for all of our employees. The general public, so ticket holders, when they come in, they will not go through a temperature scan. Okay. That's not required by Major League Baseball. It's our understanding that is something that is not required and not recommended. And so we will not be doing temperature screens.
Okay, and I know CDC guidelines are changing. They're being updated. The latest one was for people who've been fully vaccinated about gathering together and not wearing masks. Do you see there might be a separate policy for people who have been fully vaccinated at some point this season, where they could not wear a mask, where they can go ahead and get more people together? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I think definitely a possibility. We'll follow the lead of the state of California on what they allow us to do in that area, and our public health experts, both at the state and local level. But with the governor's updated guidance that was released last Friday, it does contemplate, as I mentioned at the outset, that once you get to the orange tier, if you've got proof of vaccination or somebody's been tested, and we don't know right now what exact test and how far in advance it could be before the game, that there would be relaxed requirements that could allow you to get, I think it said, the 67%, which is the tier, the capacity that you could only get to in the yellow tier. But once again, I think it's so dynamic. We're all learning as we go. I just saw new CDC guidance, as you mentioned, Marty, today. Things change. So ask me in a week, ask me in a month, the answer might be different.
Okay, two quickies. You mentioned the crowd noise and how the players are tired of it. Are you still plan to have crowd noise, or no? Now that you have real fans, you get rid of it?
Yeah, we don't currently have a plan for crowd noise or ambient noise in addition to the fans. And that would be an MLB decision one way or another, because it would apply to all 30 clubs and ballparks. But we're not planning right now to have any noise, ambient noise beyond what's generated by the fans in the ballpark.
And lastly, do you have an update on the TV situation for YouTube TV subscribers?
Yeah, I would ask Sinclair that. They're our rights holder, and they deal directly with distributors like the ones you've mentioned. I do know that there's several other options. I know it's never fun or enjoyable to move streaming service or cable or dish provider, but I do know there's plenty of options in our market that do currently carry Fox Sports, or excuse me, it will be rebranded. We'll call it Sinclair for now, or Bally Sports. That a fan will be able to access it in San Diego. It may just not be on the service that they already have in place, and that's something that we're in communication with Sinclair on. We always make it clear to Sinclair, as we did to Fox before then, that we want every fan in our home television territory to be able to watch the Padres on as many different platforms as possible. And that's always our desire. But they pay good value for the rights, and they have a business that they run, and they've got to work those out. And I think oftentimes they communicate with fans on the other options and actively let fans know which services are already committed to carry the RSN for the season.
And you mentioned everybody's so excited in San Diego, wants to see the Padres, record demand. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, the Brewers had dealt with Cubs fans coming in and they said, you know what, we go to public sale, we're not selling to anybody with Chicago zip code. Would you put restrictions on people with an LA zip code to make sure you get the most Padres fans you can if you do public sales?
Yeah, I mean, we traditionally haven't done that, Bill, in part because we've always been at full capacity and there's been plenty of room for folks to come. I think if we got to a point where, we felt like there wasn't enough opportunity for San Diegans and Padres fans to come to the ballpark, I think we would always consider how we prioritize their ability to come to their ballpark and see their team. But we've never really thought about it from the perspective of trying to deny entry to a Dodgers fan. I think people in LA love to come down to San Diego. It's a beautiful place, right? They like to come down here and enjoy our ballpark. And I think, we would like, as the team gets better and we become more competitive, including against the Dodgers, that we see more and more Padres fans. For the positive reason that more Padres fans want to come support us, not because we're excluding other people. To go back to something you said, Bill, just to clarify, when I gave you the 13, we're somewhere between 13,000, 14,000 right now. That's FSEs. Those are full season equivalents. That means so if you have 2 half-season plans, right, you would combine them into one FSC. And that's where, at a potential 30% opt-out, and we were at a lower FSE base when we began this whole thing, we still thought for some time that there might actually be some single game tickets. So that's looking less likely now as the membership base has increased and the number of people opting in appears to be higher than what we were given a few weeks ago.
Okay, so last thing, just as a general message to the thousands of people from LA who come down every year, should they not expect to get in at least earlier this year? Or do you think there's a way they'll be able to fit in?
Yeah, I mean, it's dynamic right now, both in terms of the total capacity and how many of our Padres members are opting in. I mean, I think it's a tough ticket to get. I think, for them to try to get a ticket, it's probably going to be a pretty significant premium. Maybe they enjoy staying in LA and watching the Dodgers play there.
And just one more, as the state comes out with the guidelines for what you need to do to allow fans in, are the Padres planning on doing anything like above and beyond at the gate, regardless of what those regulations are? You said no temperature checks, but is there something that's going to happen?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're going to have screening, as we always do, for a number of different safety reasons at the gates. And we're going to be providing fans with access if they don't bring it with them to a mask. We'll do what I think you've probably experienced in a lot of retail settings where, we want our fans to come in, and if they've forgotten something, we'll have it for them. There'll be a lot of hand sanitizer stations. There'll be friendly guest staff to guide them and get them in a way that's safe. And so, yeah, I mean, we'll be communicating specifics to our members, and also in advance of opening day, we'll be communicating specifics. But yes, we've got a plan for all that.